Yes. It's steel.
But you can't be any geek off the street. Gotta be handy with the steel, if you know what I mean.
Keep it real.
Keeping it real.
And welcome to the channel. My name is Steven and this is Steel Keeping It Real. So you know what today is.
But you love me for my twang.
That's right, it is Twangin' Tuesday. And on this day, I like to feature country music, past, present, or future on the channel. Now this one, I'm going to the past. I'm going to 1986, and it said January of 1986. So in 1987, I would have been a senior in high school when this song came out. Now the song that I'm going to do is called Grandpa, Tell Me About the Good Old Days, and it's by the Judds. Now I do want to, preface this and say rest in peace to Naomi Judd. She almost died a year ago to this day. She died on April 30th of last year. And the thing about it is that when I was growing up, it almost looked like Naomi and Winona were sisters, because the mom looked good. I'm just saying. But you couldn't escape the Judds, but nobody that I hung around with in the 80s listened to country music but my mother. And I don't think I've heard this full song, and I definitely don't comprehend or haven't comprehended what the lyrics actually mean. But
You're gonna learn today.
so let's take a look first at what this song did on the charts. And Belamo. It went to number 1 on the US Hot Country Songs Billboard and number 1 on the Canadian RPM Country Tracks. It did what it had to do for a country song. Hit number 1. So if you like videos like this and others on the channel, please don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button, because I'm doing at least 10 videos each and every week. So without any further ado, here are the Judds and Grandpa, Tell Me About the Good Old Days.
Godfather, tell me what it was like when you were a little boy.
Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Sometimes it feels like this world's gone crazy. Grandpa, take me back to yesterday, when the line between right and wrong didn't seem so hazy. Did lovers really fall in love to stay and stand beside each other, come what may? Is promise really something people kept, not just something they would say? Families really bow their heads to pray. Daddies really never go away. Oh, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Everything is changing fast. and Grandpa. Let's wander back into the past, then paint me the picture of long ago. Lovers really fall in love to stay, stand beside each other, come what may. Is promise really something people kept, not just something they would say and then forget? Families really bow their heads to pray, but daddies really never go away. Oh, oh, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Oh, oh, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Families really bow their heads to pray, daddies really never go away.
Alright, well that ended kind of abruptly, but you know what's weird? I like the song. It's not that it's confusing. You can hear that there's a kind of like a dichotomy going on. She's wondering, were times different then than they are now? You know, the families bow their head and pray. You know, daddies never go away. Did you make a promise and always keep it, kind of thing? Because nowadays it doesn't feel like, you know, we do that anymore. And the thing is that if you were to ask, like I have a granddaughter now, and if my granddaughter were to ask me, you know, specific questions like this, there really wouldn't be a difference, you know, in now, because number one, I don't think a lot more people are into religion as they might have been when I was growing up, because I was brought up in the church, but my son was not. So there's not that reference there. That might be a big difference. But as far as everything else like that, you know, praying, making promises. Sometimes you make promises, and that's one of the things you learn as a kid, is that, you know, sometimes they're broken. You might be disappointed for a certain time frame, but then, you know, you learn to move on, and then you learn to, like, you know, when I was growing up, we would make, you know, of course, we drove a lot across the country, and of course, we would see a lot of things that were of interest, like the biggest ball of yarn, or, you know, things like that. And then we would always go like, can we go there? And they would say like, you know, we'll get it on the way back, which always we knew meant, no, we're not going. There were things like that. You know, when I was going to do this video, I was going to go in a different way, because I thought that this is going to be, you know, kind of like reminiscent, and Grandpa, you know, tell me about the good old days, you know, back when, you know, you drove, back in 57, you had a Chevy, and you went to the malt shop and everything else like that. And I was thinking like, you know, these weren't good old days for people of color. But this song didn't even go in that direction, although, and not even all the people in the video were white. There were Latinos in the beginning of it. I don't know if I saw a black person in this video, but it still stayed right there in the center. So anybody of any race could kind of, you know, connect to this. And what's the word I want to do? Not empathy, but I don't know. I can't think of it right now. So, you know, but I did like, you know, I forgot that Winona was the lead singer. They never actually, I think, showed anybody singing in the video, but whenever Winona's voice was supposed to be singing, they showed her face. And big difference, because I'm thinking Winona would have been like, you know, a teenager or in her early 20s when this came out. So she's not that older than me if I, you know, think about it. So she started very young. And yeah, things really aren't changing. It almost, I can understand. Sometimes things seem even more confusing now than they did, but that's only because I'm older, looking at it through experienced eyes. But in a lot of ways, things really haven't changed. You know, when it comes to political, you know, it's always the same exact thing. And it's like, why are we still doing this many years later? And it's because it's still something that, you know, divides our country. You know, there are still certain things that divide our country. And we've been talking about it for decades, for, you know, 40, 50 years. So nothing has really changed. There really wasn't any good old days, except, you know, I have a lot of trauma happen to me in the 70s and the 80s, even into the 90s, as far as the trauma that I created for myself. But I can look back, and there were good times in the 70s and 80s and 90s. There were good times there. There was just these sprinkling of things that, you know, took me off course, or, you know, caused me hardship, or stuff like that. But, you know, 80s were really, really good. The 80s were, you know, as far as pop culture and everything else like that, the 80s were great. Absolutely great. And the people that I met in the 80s, in the different high schools that I went to and all like that, or schools in general, the 80s were great. The 80s were great. So I can reminisce about that. You know, talk about, you know, when MTV started, and, you know, cassette tapes and record players and all that other kind of stuff. Those were good old days, you know, kind of things. So, if you are still here, I thank you very much for staying tuned. I really do appreciate it. First and foremost, I want you guys to like the videos as much as I like making them for you. After that, all you need to do to help me out with the channel is to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Peace.